Hello, fantabulous souls, and welcome back to Psychically Speaking with Lisa Ann, the place where intuition meets real life truth with just the right dash of sass. I'm your host, Lisa Ann, psychic medium, intuitive healer, intuitive coach, and your guide for clarity, healing, and soul aligned living. Today, we have a return guest that I know you are going to love. I am so excited to have a return guest, Terahsa Wilder. You will remember her from Smiling from the Heart. Everybody loved that book. So, welcome back. Thank you for making time for us. I know this is a very busy week for you. You are releasing Magic Power in Me, Manifest Your Desires Through Spiritual Healing and Personal Development. We loved having you on as a guest. Not only are you an author, but you're really a spiritual guide, and you specialize in helping others to just release their fears, embrace love, and to reconnect with their divine spark. So, welcome. We're so glad to have you back.
Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about what is Magic Power in Me?
Magic power in me is about realizing what you've been looking for isn't really outside of you. It's all, and most of us just don't know how to access it or use it. So instead of moving forward, what we do is we just stay stuck. We stay in our space. We're overthinking. We're waiting. We're doubting. But magic power in me will give you a way to pause, to reset, take action, and move on purpose.
And what led you to write this book? So you had written Smiling from the Heart, which everybody loved, by the way. So what
Thank
led
you.
you to do this one?
Well, I wasn't really trying to write a book. I was just in the depths of my life, my own life, trying to dig my way out of the mess that I had created, thinking that that was how my life was supposed to be. And when I hit the floor and realized that I needed to make changes or shut my mouth and move on and stay in the muck that I had created, um, I started looking inside of myself because the answers are wonderful resources and people on the outside to tap into, but nothing on the outside really seemed to touch the deep wounds that I needed to heal. And so I tapped into the inside, and that's when I realized that I wasn't really missing anything. There was nothing on the outside that was going to come in and help me. It was all on the inside, and I needed to use what I already had.
And I love that because I think we're living in a world, especially nowadays, where everybody's like looking to the outside to feel better. And I think, I was joking, I'm going to date myself because I existed before social media. So I just feel like we're constantly being bombarded. Like, if you just had this, or if you just do that, if you just buy that, if you just go to this place, like that's going to be your answer. I love the fact that this is really teaching people that the answers are really inside of you and that we have to go within. And I want to ask you a question because I get this a lot. And I felt this myself when I went through my own dark night of the soul, as I like to call it. But why do you feel that people feel stuck even when they're doing all the right things to grow, right? Because I remember those moments of feeling like, I don't understand. I'm doing everything right, but nothing is changing. Why am I feeling so stuck?
Well, when we're focused on doing more instead of going within and getting clear and finding clarity within first, tend to throw ourselves into overwhelm by thinking, "Oh, we need to add more. I need to learn more. I need to do more. Put more pressure on myself. Hold myself to a higher standard." But if your internal state is overwhelmed or you've not found clarity within, then none of that really moves you forward. It just keeps you stuck, keeps you stagnant. And it feels like you're doing everything right, but nothing's really changing. The world is just existing around you. And the shift really happens when you pause, when you get honest with yourself about what's really going on around you and within, and then you take action from that place. And that's when things start to shift and start to move.
I think that's such a huge word that you just said. I think everybody listening can relate to that feeling of overwhelm. And I know for myself, I tend to overwhelm myself. I I
Yes,
do it to my own self, right? So,
me
can
too.
you give an example of that? Like, what do you do when you feel overwhelmed? How do you shift yourself out of that?
Take a step backwards, and I'm all about, I put my hands on my heart, as we've talked about. I put my hands on my heart, close my eyes, and just say, what's really going on? What's going on within and around me? And then when I realize that I am in this overload space, then I just ask myself, what do I need? What do I need in this moment? And I just did this a few weeks ago. So instead of forcing yourself to be productive, take a minute to reset, step back, breathe, clear your mind, and then decide, what is my next action? What have I found from this second, this moment of clarity, of tapping into myself, not from pressure, but what is my next step? And that's what makes a difference. My example is that I'm launching this book this week. It went live on Amazon last Wednesday, and my Facebook Live launch is this Wednesday, the 13th. And I was supposed to launch it 2 weeks before, 2 weeks earlier. And I was feeling so much pressure. Nobody pressures me but me. I hold myself up and I go, okay, you got to do it here. And this is the date you said you were going to do it. And you wrote it on your vision board. So you have no choice. You have to do it. And then he's like, no, I don't. No, I don't. So I put one little post on social media. Did anybody read it? I don't know. Well, it changed my mind. That's not what serves me best. So I paused. I set it for 2 weeks later because I really wanted this to be a really fun time for me. I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to relax. I wanted to come into this week and go, this is magical. Look what I did. This is wonderful. And pat myself on the back and feel good about it all instead of clenching my teeth and going, oh my God, I can't wait for this to be over. So that was my example. I had to get clear and I had to make a firm decision and take action. Nope, this is not the right time. Wait 2 more weeks. And now everything fell into place.
I'm going to keep saying this throughout the whole time, but I love that because I think that is so important because I do that all the time too. I think we all do that. One of the things that I think is so significant about that, and I get this from people all the time, I think when people are on a spiritual path or they're working on themselves, the minute they hit that overwhelm, they immediately think they're doing something wrong. They're not doing it right. It's their fault. And instead of doing exactly what you just said, which is so amazing, taking that step back and just placing your hand on your heart, taking that pause, they keep trying to push through, right? Because they feel like, oh, I'm not doing it right. But sometimes situations come up, and we talked a little bit before the podcast, but sometimes situations come up that are not in our control. And sometimes we do need to go, I cannot juggle 1,000 things. I need to take some things off my plate. So just listening to yourself and giving yourself permission to do that, that's a huge tip right there. Huge,
Thank you.
huge.
It pays off tremendously, doesn't it? When you
Yeah,
give yourself a pause.
absolutely. And I think what you said is true. Most of the time, we're putting ourselves in overwhelm, right? I know a couple of years
I'm the
ago,
queen.
yeah, I went through something and I was like, all right, there is no way that I am going to keep up with everything that is currently on my plate. So I remember coming home, sitting down, and literally writing a list of everything that I had going on and saying to myself, you need to get rid of half this list. What are you going to do about it? Right? What are the things I can put on autopilot? What are the things that I could delegate out? And quite frankly, what were the things that weren't as important that needed to be done in that moment? What do you think makes your approach different from some of the things that people have already tried?
It's very simple. It's the simplicity. And I made it simple on purpose because that's it, it was a long journey for me to go through my healing. This is about my healing journey, and it began very complex years ago. And as time went by, it became simpler and simpler because I learned to make things simple. And so when I decided to bring it into real life, into this book, I thought, I wish I would have started in the simple way instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. So I made it as simple as possible so that it could be a way for everyone to just be do it and repeat quickly. Like when you feel off or you need to know what to do. It's I just break it down very very simply in the book, very very clear. Um so that you know how to serve yourself. What
A-
works for you when you need it
And I
instead of
think
having a
again,
year like I did trying to figure that stuff out.
that's so important because again, I think that we're always being bombarded with things have to be so complicated, right? And it's
Yes.
just those simple little action steps that you take. Can you give like a real life example of what that would look like?
Um, Like in for me, it's about again stepping back and going, okay, this the world's just going to keep going around me, but what do I need right now?
Hmm.
I get my hand on my heart, close my eyes, and I go, what serves me? What's going to serve me right now? Where am I in this moment? And what do I need to have a clear step to move forward? And what kind of action can I take? And it's really simple if we don't complicate it. The mind tends to complicate everything. No, not just
Right.
this, but everything. That's the mind's job to keep us distracted. It's the big lie, the big distractor. And once we tap into our heart, that's where our truth is. So I like to step back, pause, and go, what do I need? Because I'm in this life, you're in this life, we're all in this life to serve ourselves and to be happy and to find joy and to learn our lessons. And that's on the inside.
I know there's going to be people listening to this that are like, I've tried everything, nothing works. So, what do you say to people that are skeptical?
I say you don't need to believe anything. You don't have to believe anything I say, anything you hear, anything you read in my book or any of the other books. You just try it. And then notice what happens when you slow down and when you get honest with yourself and then act from that place. And you'll see. You'll see that's where the shift's going to happen. And then you'll begin to believe. You
I
believe in
know,
yourself.
right? I know you get very personal in this book, sharing your own story that I said before. Like, I've been in that place where you just feel like the whole world is against you. I always say it's really hard when you're stuck in that victim mentality, like you really feel like you're just being punished and nothing is working. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I do get very raw and vulnerable in the book. Part two actually is called Her Story of Me, and that's about my history, about how I learned the good and the bad in my life, and how I always looked on the outside, and even at a very young age, how I learned different traits that carried on into my adulthood. And then I hit the floor. I tell the story about how I hit the floor and found what I call my present moment, where I realized that nobody's going to help me but me. And that's the voice I heard. You can either stay right here on the floor and slobber and scream and blame the world and be in your victimhood with your blinders and think that, you do everything for everybody, nobody does nothing for you. What about me? Zone. Get up off the floor and do something about it. I got up off the floor and I did something about it. And I've shared with you the story about how I had an injury on my neck and it left my arm above my head for a couple of months. And I went to see a physical therapist during that time. And she took me into the back room where we were standing, with the mop buckets, and the doors closed and made me close my eyes. And she said, just relax. So I did. And, my body moved, my neck, my arm, all out of whack from this arm being stuck above my head for so long. And then she said, open your eyes. And so I did. And then we repeated what we had done. And I realized she wasn't touching me at all. I was following the energy. That was my
Wow.
first energy work. And she told me, she said, listen to your body. Your body knows what it needs to heal. And I just took it. I'm like, oh, okay. I was still up in my head, and it was a busy time of life for me. And so probably about 4 months later is when I hit the floor and realized that my life sucks. I got to do something about it or shut my face and move on, right? So, her words came back to me in that moment. Listen to your body. Your body knows what it needs to heal. So I began sitting in silence. I don't care if it was on my bedroom floor, on my bed, on my front porch. I had listened to the birds. I would sit in silence, listen to my body. My body started moving. I could feel it energetically moving, and I could feel the energies coming out. And my hands formed this triangle. I call it the me portal, the triangle fingertips, pointer fingers together, thumbs together. I'm showing you on the screen, but I know. And in this portal, I could feel energies moving out of my body that were serving me, and then I could feel them coming back in, the positive coming in to replace that. And years of doing this work for myself, over a decade, I began to notice a pattern. And within that pattern, depending on what I was working on in my life, whether it was mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, or just overall whole body meridian balancing, my hands in this triangle position would go to certain parts of my body to release and heal and bring these energies in and out, but it flow. And it just became a simple process. And once I noticed these patterns, then I was like, well, I better just tell everybody else because this couldn't get any easier. And I feel so much better. My life is like, woo, wonderful. My big, beautiful life, like it says in my book now. And that energy, that me energy, magic power in me, that hum I found within myself, I just wanted to share it. And so you're right. Within this book, it gets really raw. I tell a lot of things. I held back on some things. I don't want to scare people, but I put a lot. I put a lot out there, and I know my husband read it, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to say those things?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to say those things."
And again, I'm going to say I love that because I feel like we're living in a world of fake. Everything's fake. We have AI now, and everybody shows 30 seconds of their perfect life, 90 seconds of their perfect life. And I really feel like it's very detrimental because you have people that are trying to aspire to be something that doesn't even exist. I always love when people are authentic and say, "This is me." And I give you a lot of kudos for that because I don't think people always understand in this day and age how hard it is to do that because we are in a world of such judgment. And it really, you have to be a very courageous soul to be able to just throw yourself out there and say, here I am with all the good, bad, and, all of it, and do with it what you will. And I can relate to being in that moment of the dark night of the soul, just kind of being on the floor, just not knowing what to do. But I also remember before I really had that, all right, I got to pick myself up, dust myself off, and I have to take responsibility for my life. I know that when other people would talk about things, I would always have this feeling of like, I'm the victim. They don't understand. They're not going through what I'm going through. They don't have it as bad as I do. And I had to get to that place where I realized we're not saying that you're like, it's not about blaming yourself. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's such a big thing. Like, when we're in that victim mentality, you feel like people are saying that if you're going to pick yourself up and dust yourself off, it's like you're creating this. And we're not saying that you don't have the right to feel the way you do, the overwhelm, the sadness, feeling like sometimes the world is against you, because quite honestly, it does feel that way sometimes. So all of those things are real. What we're saying is you're strong enough to move forward from that. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Victimhood is ugly, as I'm sure you know also. I was in that spot. I was blaming everybody. I was blaming the universe and God. I was family, my friends. I was blaming myself. I was just throwing my bleh all over everybody. And to realize that that's just what I chose. The choices that I made throughout my life is what created this big bundle of mess that I was calling my life. And I feel like many of us end up in the same scenario where we just keep rolling along. This is happening to me and that is happening to me. Instead of creating what's going to happen in your life, we just let it just hit us in the head. And then we go, oh, I'm such the victim. Why does everybody treat me? Why does this keep happening to me over and over and over? Instead of stopping and going, I could change this. One little choice would make this all go away, because that would be simple. But there's the mind again, stepping in and going, let me interrupt this. I want to keep you, I don't want you to learn about clarity, to tap into your self-worth. I want to be, the mind always wants to be in control. The mind is very useful, but don't let it be in control. Because when it's in control, you end up on the floor, like I said I did. When you rid of that and you start tapping into your heart, because that's where the truth is. The heart connects the physical self, the oneness connection to your higher self, to your all-knowing self. The heart's the bridge, and what I've learned in my journey here.
I love that.
And
The heart's the bridge. I like that.
it's the bridge between your lower physical self here on earth and your upper knowing and your truth and your connection to your source. And tapping into the heart, finding your true purpose and who you are and why you're here to begin with, your original blueprint, why you even came into this life to begin with. That's where you begin to find the happiness and the joy in your life. And you can peel that back one little baby step at a time, like the onion. Everybody talks about the onion. Peel off a layer, peel off a layer. Well, those layers are nothing but little tiny small steps. I'm start to talk really fast. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
So one little baby step at a time. That's all it takes is one small little step, and you can. And don't blame yourself. You are where you are because of the choices you made, and you made those choices because you didn't know any different. I didn't know any different when I was, where I'm going to tell myself again. Had, all the spritz, my hair's all sticking up. I'm living in government housing, got a baby on my hip. I thought I was the shit, man. You could not stop me. And that, I was 20 maybe. So when I, had my baby, barely 18. But, at that point, that's all I knew. I thought that was life. I was living life. I was living high. There's a song about that. What is it? Redneck Wallet or something like that. That was me. But that I can't blame myself for being that girl, because that girl did her best.
Right.
And that girl is what created this woman today.
So what kind of changes do you see when people start applying this, like actually applying this into their real everyday life?
You get clear. You get very clear. You feel so much better, so much lighter, much more focused and in control of your life. And things don't happen to you. You deal with them in the moment, and you stop second guessing yourself. You start trusting your inner wisdom again. You trust your decisions. And the biggest shift is going to be you don't stay stuck in those heavy, those overwhelming moments, because you know how to move through them. You know how to handle it in the moment instead of letting it happen to you and dealing with the aftermath.
I always think about whenever I'm doing something, whether it's a one-on-one session, a book, a podcast, whatever, I always have a thought in my mind of, if people only take like one thing away from this, if they don't remember anything else I said, like what's the one thing that I really want them to remember? So for you, what's that one idea or the one truth from your book that you hope will really, really stick with people?
That would be that you don't need more. You don't need more. Just start listening and acting on what's already inside you, what's within. Because when you do that, that's when everything starts to move, everything starts to shift. And this book gives you a way to apply that in your life in a very simple way. You don't just think about it, you understand it, and you use it. Know when you feel off. If you feel off, you don't stay stuck there. You know how to pause, breathe, connect within. You find your clarity, take that one little action, and that sounds like so many steps, but really it takes like 2 seconds.
Right.
You just go, you back up, you go within, yep, there's my clarity, and you move forward.
So do you think that's like one simple step that someone can take if somebody's listening and they're like, all right, what can I do right now? What's one simple little step? What would you say to them?
Pause. As I said, I'm a girl. I like to close my eyes and put my hands on my heart because that that helps me with connecting to self. Have your own way. Just take a breath and say, what's one thing that I already know about myself that I am not acting on? And don't overthink it. Don't let the mind come in and go, because the mind's going to do that. It's going to second guess you constantly. Take what comes up first and just notice it and make one teeny tiny decision today to move in that direction.
In addition to the Smiling from the Heart book, in addition to the Magic Power in Me, you also have a course. And I want you to talk about the me part a little bit. What is the
Okay.
ME stands for? How did that come about? Just really short version of how that all kind of came into your life.
Well, as you said, the book is Magic Power in Me, capital letter M, capital letter E, M-E. Me stands for me, as it would when you read it for you, but it also stands for Meridian Enlightenment. And in my healing journey, I was, I channel, I hear primarily through my right ear. And I was told after I worked with this energy for a handful of years, I was told that it is what's called meridian energy. So I'm clearing up my meridians. Our meridians run throughout our whole body. Primary run along like the chakra line, or primary chakra line, your spine. Um, so the me actually stands for meridian enlightenment, but it also kind of worked because it was me healing me, and it's just five simple movements: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and whole body meridian enlightenment, lining up and being in balance. And the course is called Me Energy Foundations. And in that course, gosh, I priced it at $44. Huge course for 44 months. It's because I just want to get it out there. And it's 7 simple steps. It's the flow. When I began doing my healing journey, I started noticing the patterns, and it was a 7-step flow. And within that were 5 healing sessions, the 4 quadrants, and then the overall full body balancing. And in the book, it's so simple. In the course, you learn how to do those 5. Let's say that you are working on telling, you have this ticker tape going through your mind that keeps saying, oh, we use those examples like, I'm not enough, or I can't do that, or, that's bad things always happen to me. That never works out for me. You're trying to work on deleting that programming from your mind. The mental, the triangle portal, the little tan triangle portal, led me to put that energy up towards my mind, towards my head, actually coming in on each side of my ears. If I was working on something emotional, let's say, my heart hurt, or I said something that I regretted, even I was carrying emotionally, then my hands, the triangle, would go to my heart. I started noticing these patterns based on what I was trying to heal in my life, and I put those five healing sessions in that course, in the foundations course. And they are so simple. I mean, you can let's say you're on your way to work and you get ready to go into a meeting or something, and you're like, oh, I'm really regretting this. I'm so nervous. This is going to be awful. How awful. How's it going to go? You can sit in your car for 2-3 minutes, do this, bam, you're clear, you're ready, you walk in, your meeting goes well. You can use it. I used it to heal my financial ones from things that I had learned when I was a child, programming from, growing up in poverty, basically. I had to heal that in my adult life in order to move forward. It happens. There's just small shifts, and they happen so quickly. And the foundations course will teach you how to just do that. But I keep snapping because it happens so fast.
And I just have to add, because you're so humble, that, one of the things that I've been noticing a lot in the world that we're living in now is people are taking all the information that other people have done and they're just repackaging it and spitting it out in their own format. And I just really want to let our listeners know this whole me concept, this ME, this meridian energy, this is all information that you channeled or you received for yourself throughout your own journey. And I remember when you were going through that. And I just think that is such an important piece to all of this and so magical to how that all came about.
Thank you. And it is. I looked outside. I went actually to when I first started doing when I hit the floor, I got up. I'm like, I got to figure out what this is, this body energy, what's happening to me. So I go to Google. It was available, and I found Reiki. And within a couple of years, I had completed my Reiki master. Well, that was wonderful, but it did not feel the same. Nothing about the energy feeling or the movements was the same. I read other books, angel healing, and took other courses. I did all kinds of things, but until I went on the inside and said, "All right, what's happening? This is different. I can't find it." I went on the inside. That's when I was told, "Yep, this is me. It's the me energy, about me healing me." And then it was all revealed to me. Here's the pattern. Here's the flow. There's 5 of them. Just do it, and you'll be all right. And I did. And next thing you know, I'm sharing it with the world.
I love it. I love it. So you're releasing the book on Wednesday, May 13th. You have your other book, Smiling from the Heart. If you have not read that yet, you need to get that while you're there. You are releasing The Magic Power in Me, Manifest Your Desires Through Spiritual Healing and Personal Development. They can get this book, find out about the Me Energy Foundations course, all the information on how to work with you on the soulsharmony.com. I'll have the information in the description. And you also have, in addition to your website, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, but you also do a weekly newsletter called Your Monday Shift List. Do you want to talk about that real quick?
I do. That is just a short little, I call it a newsletter, but it's really just a short little share about a different topic each week. And it's something that you can just read within like 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. You read it, apply it. It's a quick shift is what it is. And then within that, there's a free download that you can use. If you want to expand a little bit, you print that little download, and that'll tell you exactly how to match up the lesson with something that you're dealing with in your life. And it's all very quick. And if you want to go even farther, I connect my weekly blog to that, which is a total full expansion of that same topic of how to deal with the weekly topic that we're addressing. And the book actually is already on Amazon. The official launch date is this Wednesday, the 13th. I'm having my Facebook Live at 7 o'clock at the Soul's Harmony. There's my plug. And you get some free bonus gifts if you join me live at my launch. But you can get the ebook right now. It's on special through Wednesday for 99 cents.
Awesome. I love it. And I want to say one of the things that I'm constantly hearing from people is I have nobody to help me. I can't find my people. I don't know what direction to go in. So that is why I love having you on as a guest, because people that are looking for guidance, for support for their people, here you go. Miss Tearhsa.
Thank you.
Smiling from the Heart, Magic Power in Me, and Me, the Energy Foundation course is all easily accessible for people to use. Again, they can go right to your website, thesoulsharmony.com, and I'll have the information in the description. Thank you so much for joining me today. One day we'll share the story about the effort it took to make this happen. But for today, I'm just going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I look forward to the next book and having you back for the 3rd time. So thank you so much.
Working on that book right now. Thank you very much.
I love it. I love it. We can't wait to see it. Thank you
again.
You
and I want to say that I just finished, day before yesterday, I finished listening to your 7-part chakra series. Every one of those touched me and assisted me in releasing. Oh, so thank you
Thank
very much
you.
for that
Thank you. I
series.
appreciate that. Thank you. And good luck with the launching, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you. Thank you for joining me today on Psychically Speaking with Lisa Ann. If this episode resonated, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs this message. When you're ready for more, head over to spiritquestnc.com and click Welcome Podcast Listeners right on our homepage. There you'll find free resources, tools, and simple next steps to support you on your soul journey. And of course, you're always welcome to join me for Psychically Speaking Live, my free weekly Zoom gathering where we connect, reset, and prepare for the week ahead. Until next time, trust yourself, trust what you know, and take back your energy.